Welcome to Ascend to Earth, the podcast where embodiment is the ascension. I'm Virginia Underwood, your co-host and sacred wisdom keeper, oracle, and earth steward. I'll be joined by my daughter and co-host, Hannah Pearl, soul alchemist, astro herbalist, and intuition mentor. This is a space for the seekers, the sensitives, the cycle breakers, and the wild hearts returning to their truth. Each episode will explore what it means to come home to the body through sacred conversation, emotional alchemy, nervous system healing, ancestral wisdom, and earth-based spirituality. We'll also be sitting in circle with other wisdom keepers, visionaries, and embodied leaders, voices who are here to midwife the new world. Here, we don't escape, we descend, we feel, we root, we rise. Let's ascend to Earth. Welcome. Today, we are going to be talking about the ways that we give our power away and how we can reclaim it. So I'm here with my co-host, Hannah Pearl.
Hi. So, what is your power?
Yeah, what is your power?
Well, I feel like it's your attention,
Yes,
it's your awareness, your energy.
your focus. Absolutely, all of that.
So then giving your power away would be to bring your attention to something outside of yourself. Give your attention or your energy to something outside of yourself.
Right. It's when we focus on these external things or we focus on other people's opinions or, it's when our focus and attention are not on what we're doing and who we are and what we like.
Mm-hmm. What we want out of life, where we're going, all of those things. Because it can be, well, especially with the media and like all the things that are uh, have been designed to captivate your attention. It's really, really, really easy to give your attention, your power away without even realizing that you're doing it. It can be
That's right.
very unconscious, and it can happen in like um, really subtle ways, like even going to post on social media or something. You're going to like share something, and if you start thinking about somebody that you know or what they're going to think about what you're posting, and you prevent yourself from posting because you're worried that they're going to have an opinion about it, then you just gave your power away. Then those people have your power.
Right.
Or like even, like what you eat, what you do in your life, like what you wear. It's like if you're thinking about like what this group of people or this person over here is going to think if you put this outfit on, then you gave
Right.
your power is being given away. It's being siphoned by these things outside of you, which you don't actually know either, like what their opinion is going to be anyway, like truthfully.
No, you can't know what anybody's true opinion is because you're not living their life. You're not having their experience. You haven't filtered life through their lens. So you don't know all the different factors that are making up their opinion anyway. So why even
Mm-hmm.
try? Because you're not going to figure it out. I can't tell you how many times I have given my power to someone else thinking that they're going to judge me for something I say. And then for whatever reason, I actually say it and they don't give me the response or reaction that I was expecting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what happens when somebody does though? Like what if you do something and somebody does give you this adverse reaction to what you're doing?
Well, that's happened many times in my life, and that just confirms to me that negative, you know, judgment that I have of myself.
Hmm.
It just perpetuates it. Oh, there's more evidence. There's more evidence that I'm not worthy. There's more evidence that, you know, this person doesn't like me or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's not true either, you know, or if it is, who cares?
Yeah. Yeah, because at that point, if it is somebody who judges you, and maybe you have an attachment to your relationship and what that means in your life, and uh, then that becomes about expectation, and maybe even ideal idealization of the relationship or the person itself, and that is still your own work, because why are you expecting this person to be any different than how they're showing up, and why are you expecting this relationship to be any different than the way that it is, and why are your feelings about it not good enough,
Mm.
and can you manage and handle your own feelings when it's not going the way that you expect or idealize?
That is the thing. That's the test, is to manage your feelings. I mean, that's,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it might feel easier to just be like, oh no, this is your, like, maybe it feels easier to give your power away to things outside of you, because then you don't have to deal with the feelings that come when things aren't the way that you want them to be, because then you can just blame it on the thing outside of you.
yes, that's it. That's also giving your power away, right? With not taking responsibility for yourself. When we blame
Yeah.
somebody else for something, that's giving our power to them over that situation. When we, and even the universe, like blaming the universe for whatever circumstances. I mean, we make the
Mm-hmm.
choice to participate in this life, whether unconsciously or consciously. So at some point, we have some responsibility in everything that's happening in our life, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I like the definition of responsibility as like your ability to respond to
Hmm.
life, because it really comes down to, yeah, it's like how present and aware are you in each moment, and willing to respond to whatever it is that life is showing you or presenting you with. Can you meet that with presence without judgment, and meet, and really you're meeting yourself without judgment, whatever comes up arises within you,
Right.
and taking responsibility for it, being able to
Hmm.
say, yes, this is like this, I can hold this,
Yeah, I think we've been
and I can keep
trained.
going.
Yeah. I think we've been trained to blame somebody outside of ourselves. You know, we live in this, what is that triangle called? The victimhood triangle, where you have the
Yeah.
victim, the hero, and the perpetrator. You know, we've been really set up in that scenario. We're either looking for somebody to blame, somebody to save us, you know, and
Hmm.
what we're being called to do, what the, I don't know, the ultimate flex is can you get out of that triangle? Can you stop blaming something outside of yourself for the choices that you make? You know, we don't have control over the external circumstances. I don't have control over the weather or, you know, what somebody else is doing, but I always have the ability to respond. in a conscious manner that either supports me, um, supports who I am, or it, um, doesn't support it, it invalidates my experience, if that makes sense.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. So then it's the root of it is, can you handle discomfort?
Right. We go back to that.
Yeah.
We always seem to go back to how do you handle the discomfort?
Hmm.
Because it is. I mean, I read something this morning that was talking about it was this girl who, when she was 14, she died for 12 minutes. She was in a car accident with her family, and in this near-death experience, she saw how um, she and her family were, and so many people in this world were giving their power to their screens, you know, like um, they're on their computers or on their um, phones for so many hours a day. And I don't know about you, but if I find myself scrolling on something like Facebook for any length of time, I start to get into this comparison mode where I'm looking at this person's life and saying, "Oh, well, they obviously have a better life than I do. Look at all these fun things they get to do and wow, they're cool, I'm not." Like
Hmm.
going into that whole mind fuck of unworthiness and comparison, truly.
Right. Yeah. And isn't it like your relationship with, I mean, your relationship with everything, obviously, but like with social media or your phone or whatever, like whatever you're captivated by, it's almost like that within itself is an agreement because you're agreeing to give your attention to this thing. And if that's your power, you're agreeing to give your power away to this device, to use it. And that I think that's the majority of people who use, like, I mean, social media is a big one. Like, it's like you're in the agreement to give your power away when you're scrolling and looking. And so yeah, it does get you into the comparison, and you're, because you're like, oh, and also if you think of like the way what happens to our brains when we're watching movies or whatever, like if we are like almost, we like become the movie, we start like living all of those experiences and feeling them somatically in our body. And so it's almost like the same thing when we're looking at other people's lives on social media. We're like feeling this, like feeling that in our body. And if we don't feel that in our waking life, in our, outside of the internet or whatever, we can start to think that it's less than, or
Right.
not good enough, or we shouldn't be where we're at. And I think, you know, when you make the choice to have a relationship with with social media as a tool for creation, or the internet or whatever as a tool for creation versus consumption, and that's a way that you can take your power back.
Hmm.
But like for me, I have had social media since I was 12, and so I've been giving my power away to social media for years and years and years of my life, especially developing. And now I'm at this place where I'm choosing to be a creator instead of a consumer, but I still have to get out of the consumer, like I have to change that relationship and what that looks like. And when you're so conditioned to doing something, it can feel challenging to get out of that. Like, how do I take my power back from that?
Mm-hmm.
It's like little minute choices.
Yes.
I'm going to choose to record a video today versus going in, the 20 minutes or whatever that I would spend scrolling right now. I'm going to use that to make a video or to write an email or to, whatever.
Right.
And that's me taking my power back and creating.
Yeah, because if I sit on social media and I sit in that comparison, then it's going to not motivate me to create my own video. I'm going to just sit and critique my video versus what I'm seeing on social media. Or I see somebody else who's doing something similar to what I'm doing, and then I can't do what I'm doing anymore because it's not unique or, you know, whatever story I'm creating around that. And so when we become the creator of our
Yeah.
life, then we let go or we don't even go into that story so we can attach to it. We just get in, do what we're going to do, and get out of there.
Yeah, and it's actually, I mean, you could go into it, and almost every system in society is set up for us to be consumers. Like
Yes.
we are have agreed to give our power away to all of these systems outside. I mean, the um medical system, for example, we are okay. Yeah, I give my power away to this authority outside of myself who knows more about my body than I do. At least that's what we're saying when we're in agreement with this. Like, so you can tell me what to do so I don't have to deal with it, kind of thing. But then we
Right.
do have to deal with it because we have to deal with the consequences of giving our power away to somebody who thinks they know more about us than we do. And then, you look at the food system. We give our power away and we allow other people to grow our food, and we lose that connection with our food, what's happening with our food. We don't even know, we don't even see it growing. We don't even, most of the time, we don't even know like what conditions it's growing in. We don't know like how the people are feeling when they're harvesting or planting or whatever. Like, or even maybe it's not even people. Maybe it's like in grown in a laboratory. Like maybe I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like there's like
Yeah.
so many things just for the sake of convenience
Right.
because it appears to be easier, appears to be more convenient. But then we end up having to face more discomfort internally. Whereas like in the yogic philosophy, there's a yama and niyama, and I can't remember the name of it, but there's one particularly where it's like you choose to have the discipline to face the fire so that you don't have to face it from life, if that makes sense. So you make the
Yeah.
conscious choice to get up and be uncomfortable. So that could be like, I'm making the conscious choice to be uncomfortable to get up every day and take care of my garden. I'm making the conscious choice to get up every day and work out even when I don't feel like doing it, or like I'm taking care of my body even when it's uncomfortable so that I don't have to face the discomfort later on from life giving it back to me. It's like
Right.
I'll just deal with it head on. But we give our power away to stuff outside of ourselves, and then we still have to face the discomfort. It just comes at a different point
Yeah. And maybe not quite
and
in the
usually
way.
a lot less fun.
Right. Well, yeah, because if you going to the example of like working out, you know, that 20, 30, an hour of discomfort versus dealing with health issues later down the road, you
Mm-hmm.
know? I mean, I would much rather spend an hour in discomfort, but at the end of it, feel better about myself and feel better in my body than to not do that hour or whatever. And 10 years down the road, I have, um, you know, like my hip is out of joint or something, or I have back problems because I didn't take care of my core or, you
Yeah.
know, and then you've got to deal with that.
Hmm. Yeah, or like the, taking medication or something. Like, oh, here's this pill to solve this symptom that you're having, and then you but then that comes with a slew of side effects, and eventually you're dealing with all the side effects, and then you have to take more medication to deal with those symptoms, and then it keeps, and by the end of it, you're having like this giant, you've seen people with those big like pill containers, and they've
Right.
got like 50 pills they've got to take every day. It's like, that's
Hmm.
insane.
Just to
Because and it started
maintain.
with one symptom,
Right.
or a couple symptoms, and
Yeah.
when you when there might have been something that you could have done, you know, within yourself or within your lifestyle or whatever, that could have prevented the need for that in the first place. And that's not to shame anybody who's in that space. It's just like, it's the system and the way that it was set up.
Right. And, if you don't know something, you don't know something. And how do you learn it except for being exposed to something different? And it's like what we were talking about yesterday in the liminal spaces, or in our last podcast in the liminal spaces, where we talked about, when you start something new, it's that chaotic energy. Like it's not in a rhythm yet. It's kind of discombobulated and maybe all over the place. Um, and you just have to, keep doing it. Once you become aware, then you can keep doing that, and it eventually gets into its own pattern, its own rhythm that becomes uh, manageable.
Mm-hmm. So you have to make the choice with our energy
Right.
to
And then,
choose something different.
sorry, go ahead.
No, what were you gonna say?
Well, I was going to say, how often do we give our power away to like fear or shame? Um, like making choices not necessarily that are the best for us because we're afraid of the consequences. Like we're afraid of somebody's response, or we're afraid of, how um, we'll be
Mm-hmm.
perceived. We're afraid of what might happen if we make a choice based on what we actually need versus what we think, you know,
Yeah,
somebody
that's
else.
like the deeper part of it is like the giving your power away to your feelings. And that goes back to the art. Who are you? And are you even your feelings? Are you your body? Are you, like, you aren't actually any of these things. So you can give your power away to feelings. And that's kind of the uh yeah, that's the deeper part of it, the deeper layer
Right.
of giving your power away. Because it really comes down to, who are you? Then you would have to
Yes.
be, you are the power, you are the energy, you are the awareness, you are the attention. That's
Yes.
you. Everything else outside of that is not. It's still outside of you.
It's just information. Our thinking mechanism is just providing information. Our feeling mechanism is just providing information. These are all these different inputs. It's like if you're a computer, these are just, you know, these different prompts and commands, and they're not the actual computer. It's not who you are. It's just providing information so that you can make choices in the present moment that are based on your highest interest.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too, is it isn't you, but it's an aspect of you, because it's all you and it's not you at the same time. You
Yeah,
know?
I mean, it goes back to the question that Ramana Maharshi always asked is who is the one thinking? Who is the one feeling?
Hmm.
What's
Yeah,
the
I like
deeper awareness?
approaching. I think it's really um, helpful to approach life in the form of a question instead of a period. Like looking at everything and questioning it, like literally questioning everything.
Absolutely. Yes.
Staying open and curious about everything that you're witnessing. And that's how you create openness, spaciousness.
Well,
That's how, yeah.
isn't that what the staying in that childlike place is all about? It's not being naive, it's questioning, it's being in awe of an experience because regardless of whether you think you've seen an experience before, like this lines up with something that happened in my past, you're in a new place. You are not the same person you were when you experienced that the last time. Therefore, this is a whole new experience. And you don't have to attach to an old story to it. You can stay open and curious about it and maybe have a different outcome. Maybe not. Maybe you have the same outcome that you had before. But generally, I mean, you just being open and questioning is going to change that outcome.
Hmm. Yeah, it's like
Maybe in a
sorry.
maybe in a subtle way. And that makes me think of I think it was James Clear wrote the book Atomic Habits. And what he's talking about is doing something 1% more each day. And he used the example of getting on an airplane and going from, like San Diego to New York. And if the pilot were to punch in the coordinates one degree off when he started, by the time he gets to where he would think New York would be, he would be way far from his original goal.
Yeah. It was makes me think of the and I don't know where this came from, but like just the scientific, like experimenting with something, like the observer um
Oh yeah.
alter the outcome of the
You're
experiment just from their perception.
talking about level split experiment,
The
the
what?
double split experiment where it's a quantum physics.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, where if things are not like these particles moving through the slits, um, if they're not observed, they're waves. If they are observed, they are like solid particles, right?
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, basically like something like the act of observing something within itself allows it to become real, like to move or to be something. But without observation, then it isn't anything.
Mhm. Right. And you observing something changes the outcome or the energy of it just by
Do you
the mere observation.
you have no idea what your perception of how a different perception of something could affect the way something plays out
Mm-hmm.
just by simply the way that you're looking at it. So yeah, maybe it's like a similar situation that you've been in, but if you're coming at it from a different perspective, it's going to be a different outcome.
Right. It's like I have a great example of this. So when I was in my last long-term relationship, um, I was in it for 20 years. And at the beginning of those 20 years, I was very steeped in victimhood. And, when he would approach me about certain things, I would get defensive. I would go into the victim, you know, get all, we'd get into arguments. We'd get into these big fights, and they would just be, you know, hours long and exhausting. And I started working on taking my power back. I started doing things like Byron Katie's work, which is a process of questioning all of your thoughts. And when I started doing that, I started to realize how much power I was giving him every time I got defensive about something he said. So he would say something, and immediately I would be like, how dare you? Oh my gosh, don't you know X, Y, and Z? Which created this conflict, this interaction that was not fun. It wasn't pleasant. There was a lot of blaming and shaming and staying in that victim triangle. But when I finally realized that, wait a second, I have a choice. When he comes at me and says something that doesn't feel good, I don't have to get defensive. I don't have to, that's me giving him my power when I get defensive about what he's saying. He has a right to his opinion. I don't have to agree to it. I don't have to agree with it. So when he would then come at me with his opinion, instead of going, oh, I can't believe you would think that, or how dare you, I would just sit there and say, how does this feel in my body? Okay, no, I don't agree with that. Well, all right, I hear you. I hear that you have this opinion, and that doesn't really feel relevant or feel alive for me. So I'm going to let you have that. And I don't
Mm-hmm.
need to change it or fix it. And then when you come from that, then how does the other person respond? Like they have to respond differently because before, when I was yelling or getting all defensive, he would have a defensive response back to me. But if I'm not getting defensive and yelling, that completely changes the dynamic. And now he has to change his response, which changes the whole outcome of the situation. No longer is it, you know, my power getting taken from me. I'm taking my power back because I'm not giving it away in the first place.
Mm-hmm. And then he has to look at himself and he's got to decide, you know, whether he wants to give his power away or not and how he feels about it.
Yeah, exactly. So,
So yeah, it kind of diffuses the energy.
right. So that's one way that we can start to reclaim our power. What are some other ways that you found that are helpful in reclaiming your power?
Well, I think we've already said quite a few, like questioning everything, like Ramana Maharshi's who am I? Those questions are really helpful in my, like, for me, I've a lot of times will, have a feeling or a thought and be like, who is feeling this? Who is thinking this? Who is, and that just brings me right back to like my awareness and my center. And then I feel like it gives me a buffer to make a decision that's a little bit more aligned with my truth rather than, you know, deciding. I can see more clearly like what the outcome of my decision will be if I can take a second to question what's happening. If that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Hmm. Yes. And I think really
Gives me more
honest,
space.
being really honest with ourselves is another way that we can take our power back, you know? Not denying or like going back to that example that I used about my ex, um, when I would start to question what he was saying, sometimes when he would accuse me of something or, you know, blame me for something. If I'm being truly honest, I can see exactly what he's saying, you know? I can see that there is validity in this complaint that he has. So if I'm very honest with myself, then I can see that. I can see what I've been doing that hasn't been helping my relationship. And then I can I bring awareness to that, which then helps me to see myself doing this in different situations, this behavior. And then I can start to work on changing that to behavior into something that will be more in alignment with the person that I want to be, the person that highest expression of myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that.
Um,
Being radically honest, like
yeah.
just getting really real, and that's just being that's just allowing and accepting whatever it is that's coming up for you, like accepting it, like letting it be there, giving it space to be there, because you know it's not you. That doesn't define who you are. So you can allow it to be there, and you can be honest with yourself about. And then also, if you think about like being in going back to the conversation example, being in conversation with someone and they're feeling a certain way, and it's their, it's their experience, they're experiencing those feelings, which also isn't doesn't define who they are. So if you can allow them to have those feelings, like, isn't that the whole reason why we try to talk about it? Because we just want to be seen, we just want to be heard for, like, hey, this is my experience right now.
Yes.
And so giving that to yourself, like, you can have this, you can feel this, it just feels so much better.
Yeah. Yeah, and when we're able to hold space for other people to have their feelings and not try to make it about us, because even if they're saying, you did this and it made me feel this, that's not about you. Yes, you did a behavior, but that's not to say that your behavior was wrong. That's just, that was a trigger point for that person. And it's allowing you to now have this conversation so you can get clear on, does this behavior align with who I am? Do I want to, say these kinds of things to my people or people? Or did what I say feel right? And I'm going to let this person have this space, like hold it for them so that they can work through whatever that brought up for them, because clearly that trigger was based on their past experience that has not been resolved yet. So here we are at this place of opportunity for each of us to grow and to accept these deeper parts of ourselves that we haven't accepted before.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I, I think another way is to actually embody your worthiness, instead of waiting for other people to choose us and to, people please, to do things that we don't necessarily want to do, but we think that that will make somebody else like us. If we decide that we are worthy of the life that we want to have, we get to choose how that looks. So we get to choose ourselves. We get to choose to put ourselves first, to take care of ourselves, to give ourselves what we need and focus on ourselves, which seems selfish and self-serving. And to a degree, yes, it is. And we need that in order to be able to give to others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember like years ago, the concept of focusing on yourself felt so foreign and confusing to me. I was like, how do you focus on yourself? Like, you know, how do you love yourself? How do you focus on you and not other people? And really it is getting really clear about what you want. What do you want out of life? Where are you going? What you want to do? Making a decision and accepting and getting comfortable with being like, yeah, this is what I want, and I'm going to, you know, I'm going to choose me. I'm going to go towards this and not be ashamed, or even if other people are triggered by that or don't understand. Am I okay with being misunderstood? To not abandon myself. Can I stay
Exactly.
with myself even when other people don't want to or don't see it or whatever? And that's like showing yourself how much you really love and value yourself and your desires, because your desires are your compass.
Right.
Where you want to go is what's meant for you.
Exactly. Yeah. And so when we do things based on people pleasing or because we think this is what we're supposed to do, a lot of times that actually comes out as selfishness
Mm-hmm.
because it's not really taking care of the self or anybody else. It's, you give until the point where you have nothing left to give, you deplete yourself, and then that doesn't serve anybody.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's selfish because um you're avoiding conflict within yourself.
Yes.
So you're like, oh, I'm gonna do this because I think that somebody else won't like this. But it's not really about them. It's about the fact that you don't want to deal with the discomfort if they don't like it. You don't want to deal with the
Exactly.
feelings that are gonna
Right.
come up if they disagree.
Right.
So it'd just be easier to give your power away.
Yes, it seems that way, but then you leave that situation and you feel resentment and anger and distrust and, all these emotions that cause you to maybe withdraw your energy from that person or situation. Um, and that doesn't serve either because,
That's how you sabotage your relationships. That's how
right,
you dismantle and dissolve a relationship if you're wondering why something doesn't feel good anymore. It doesn't feels like everything's falling apart. And why do you, that, like, why do I always end up in this situation or in this relationship or this whatever? It's like, well, because of that right there. Because you're not
Right.
being yourself. You're not being true to who you actually are, being authentic with what you actually want, and being radically honest.
Hmm. And then people, I mean, we hear this all the time, like I was with this person for so many years and I didn't know who they really were
Yeah.
because these people, I mean, us, we
Mm-hmm.
go along and we don't know ourselves because we've been doing all the things that we've been trained to do, the things that we think we're supposed to do, and feeling completely dissatisfied in our life. And then we're given an opportunity to do something, and maybe for once we take our power back. And then that person and okay, here's an example from my life. So that was me for many, many years. Like I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know. I latched on to my husband's interests. You know, he liked cars. So, okay, now I like cars. And he liked shooting guns. Okay, now I like shooting guns, you know? And so I would go and do these things, these activities. And at first it was cool because I was getting to spend time with him, right? But then after a while, I start to realize, well, this doesn't really feel that great to me. Like I'm not really interested in, you know, your carburetor or how many horsepower your engine has, or I don't like the feeling of a gun in my hand. I don't like this loud noise that it makes when you shoot it. You know, I don't really want to do these things. And so when I started saying, I think I'm going to sit this car show out, it was, wait, what do you mean? This is what we've always done. How can you say that? And getting into arguments because he thought that I was this way, but I didn't know myself. So now that I'm starting to figure out who I am, then this doesn't really make sense for me anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you've, like, wearing a mask.
Exactly. Right. So the more that we can take time for ourselves and really get to know our likes and dislikes, who we are, then when we get into a relationship, we're very clear, we're very transparent. And then that person knows, okay, this is who they are. And we're not going to deviate that from that because we know ourselves. We know what we like and what we don't like. And, you know, we're going to be true to ourselves, which means that we're going to be loyal to um, these things that we love, and including people, and if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Like living in more alignment with who you are, and what you desire, which is
Right.
your true path. And you discover that along the way. And
Yeah.
so, like, it's okay to try different things. It's okay to do, you know, to get curious and do other stuff, but then coming back to, like, you know, like you said, I don't know if I really like this or not, and
Yeah.
that's okay. And can you
Yeah.
accept that? And can your partner or your whatever accept that as well?
Right. Can you um accept changing your mind? Like it's okay to change your mind. You
Mm-hmm.
can decide to do one thing, and then 5 minutes or 2 years later, you can change your mind and decide that you don't want to do it. And there is nothing shameful or bad about that.
And you don't even have to have an explanation.
No,
You just can do it.
just do it. Just do you.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, that's what it means to focus on yourself.
Yeah. That's how we take our power back.
Hmm.
Being present is really, I think, the ultimate tool. Practicing mindfulness. And I'll probably say that in every podcast that we
I
do,
know,
because
but
that
that's what it comes down to.
simple,
It's like,
yeah, that simple act is where everything resides, you know?
yep, that feels complete.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have any last final words? Final words of wisdom, Hannah?
Mm. No, I feel good. I feel, yeah, I feel complete.
Well, I just want to say that, power is contagious. And the more that you recognize your own power, the easier it is to stay in that. But disempowerment is also contagious. And so recognizing where you feel disempowered, where you are disempowering yourself truly is is a huge key and will help you in, you know, recognizing your own power.
Mhm. The more you notice something, the more you notice it,
Right.
or see it everywhere.
You don't need to earn your power. You were born with it. So, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Ascend to Earth. We're so happy to have you here, and we look forward to seeing you on the next call.